Hey guys, Mark here from Ratings.com. Today we're comparing the Cowin E8 to the Cowin E7 Pro. Now the original Cowin E7 were quite popular despite their flaws thanks to the decently strong noise cancellation and affordable price. So how does the E8 and the E7 stack up? And are they still a good balance to price performance? Or are you better off with another budget brand like Bluetooth? Well, in this review, we'll be comparing the design, sound quality, and isolation, which you'll get to hear for yourself later on, as well as the active features. But as always, let's start with what's in the box. So for the Cowin E8, you have a sturdy but bulky hard case, a little pouch to carry the cables, a 1.8 to 116 TRS audio cable, a micro USB charging cable, the manuals, and lastly, the E8 headphones. And for the Cowin E7 Pro, you also get a good hard case where you only got a pouch for the original E7, a 1.8 TRS audio cable, the micro USB charging cable, the manuals, and the E7 Pro headphones. Now let's get the boxes out of the way and compare the design. So build quality wise, the E8 are better and much more premium looking than the E7 Pro. They have a sturdier headband design, the hinges feel more firm and durable, and the ear cups are made of a more high-end plastic build. However, it doesn't have the cool brush metal look of the E7 Pro, and since the ear cups are fairly massive, they kind of protrude once on your head, which won't be for everyone. The E7 Pro, on the other hand, look almost identical design-wise to the original E7. They have a brush metal back effect and a slight change to the button layout. The headband is fairly well padded and decently durable. However, the ear cups, like on the original, feel cheap and plasticky. They won't be the best-looking headphones out there, and the build quality is not on par with much cheaper headsets like the Bluetooth T4. Comfort-wise, the E8 again are the better choice. They're decently comfortable with soft pleather pads that feels nice on the skin. The hinges also swivel with a wider range of motion than on the E7 Pro, which helps them create a better seal around your ears. However, they do make your ears quite warm after a few hours of listening. They're a little heavy and a bit tight on the head. The ample padding does help mitigate the clamping effect, but it does feel a little lacking on the headband and creates a narrow opening, which doesn't fit as well around all ears. As for the E7 Pro, they have a much lighter frame. They're also decently well padded. However, the ear cups do not swivel as much, which creates gaps on some heads, somewhat forces you to adjust the headphones to fix the seal fairly often. They will be comfortable for some, but the seal issues might be a bit annoying for others, especially since it causes issues in their noise cancelling performance. Lastly, for the control scheme, the E8 are a bit easier to use than the E7 Pro, but both headphones have a few unnecessary quirks in their control scheme. The E8 have the more typical layout with a 3-button setup on the right ear cup for call music, track skipping, and volume controls. They also have a dedicated power switch to enable and disable the noise cancelling feature. The buttons all provide great feedback, and it's an easy-to-use control scheme once you get used to it. However, at first, the controls can be a bit confusing. For example, holding the volume up button rewinds tracks instead of skipping forward, like on most headphones with this similar setup. Same goes for the volume down. Also, the power button doubles as the Bluetooth sync, and the multi-purpose play, pause, and the end calls button, which would have been better if there were separate functions like on the E7 Pro. Here you have a dedicated switch on the bottom of the right ear cup with 3 positions for turning the headphones on and off, and also enabling the noise cancellation feature, which is nice. Unfortunately, the rest of the control scheme is a little unorthodox and not as easy to use. You have the basic multifunction button that also puts the headphones in pairing mode. However, the volume up and the volume down buttons seems to be in the opposite direction of what would be most intuitive. You would naturally press the top button to increase the volume, but in this case, it's volume down. At least rewinding and fast-forwarding tracks corresponds to the right controls, not like on the E8. So overall, the E8 are the better designed headset and a definite step in the right direction for Cowin headphones. However, their bulky, cumbersome design and somewhat tight on the head and not breathable fit might not be for everyone. And that's pretty much it for design. Now let's compare the sound quality, isolation, and leakage with sound.
Both the E8 and the E7 Pro have an average and relatively flat sound, but their issues are in different areas. The E8 have an extended bass, which can be a bit overpowering, and their treble is not quite even. The E7 Pro, on the other hand, have a better balanced treble, but lack a bit of sub-bass and have a honky mid-range. But before looking at their measurement results, we're going to play a recording we've done with these two headphones, so you can get an idea about how their sound compares for yourself. Just keep in mind that this is a relative comparison and not an absolute one. So it is good for seeing which headphone has more bass or treble, for example, but you won't be able to judge their actual sound profile. And if you get one of these headphones and listen to the same track that we've used here, you most likely won't hear the same thing. Here we have the frequency response of the E8 on the left and the E7 Pro on the right. In the bass range, you can see that the E8 produces significantly more sub-bass, which results in a thumpier sound. But lack of sub-bass is not easily noticeable, especially on headphones, so the E7 Pro is not going to sound bass light either. In the mid and upper bass regions, the E8 shows a lot of overemphasis, which makes the overall bass heavier. but at the expense of sounding boomy and muddy. The E7 Pro is quite well balanced here. The mid-range of the E8 is good and relatively flat, but it is a bit hyped, so it could drown out the treble range a bit. The broad 8 dB peak of the E7 Pro in upper mids is their major flaw, which makes their treble range quite honky. The treble of the E8 is a bit lacking, which will be even more noticeable due to their overpowering bass and mid ranges. The narrow peak around 5 kHz though makes their treble noticeably uneven and sharp sounding. The treble of the E7 Pro is more balanced in comparison, but it too could sound a bit piercing on S and T sounds because of the bump around 10 kHz. Compared to the original E7, the Pro model have a more detailed and balanced treble, but are less bassy and have the honky mid-range that I mentioned. Now for isolation and leakage, we have also recorded a comparison, which we're going to play now. First up is isolation. The E8 have a surprisingly good isolation performance and are the clear winner here. They provide a good degree of isolation throughout the spectrum, so will be effective in isolating you from the rumble of bus engines, the chatter of a loud office, as well as the high-pitched noise of air conditioning units. The E7 Pro doesn't perform as well as the E8 and only provide an average amount of isolation in the bass and mid ranges. The biggest issue of the E7 Pro's ANC system though is that every time the seal between the headphones and the ears are broken, their sound cuts out. And on some users, this can even happen with very small head movements. The original E7 didn't have this issue. Now let's listen to the leakage recording. The E8, despite their bulky ear cups and better isolation, perform worse in terms of leakage, and could be distracting to people around you even at moderately loud volumes. Both of these headphones have a leakage that spans both the mid and treble ranges and have a similar profile. The main difference between these two is that the E7 Pro's leakage is noticeably quieter. So if you tend to listen to music at higher volumes, then the E7 Pro would be the better choice and should go unnoticed unless you really blast them or are in a quiet environment. Now let's go back to Mark for active features.
Latency-wise, it's a tie for both headphones. The Cowin E8 have slightly less latency than the E7 Pro, but it's only about 6 milliseconds, which is well within the margin of error for our latency measurements. The E8 have a total of about 164 milliseconds of latency on average, and the E7 Pro 170. They both won't be ideal for gaming or watching a lot of video content, but both perform a bit better than most Bluetooth headsets without any low latency codecs, so they should be fine for some listeners. As for the wireless range, here again, there isn't much difference between the E8 and the E7 Pro. They both have a pretty great wireless range of 50 feet when obstructed for the E8 and 45 feet for the E7 Pro. They also reach much farther than typical Bluetooth headphones in direct line of sight, which will be more than enough for most environment and use cases, especially if you keep your phone or Bluetooth device in your pocket, but they should also be somewhat suitable for a fixed source like a PC or TV and let you walk around your house or the office. For the battery life, the E7 Pro lasts longer than the E8 at 33 hours of continuous playtime compared to 21. Unfortunately, they also take significantly longer to charge at 4.2 hours on average compared to 3.2. Both headphones will not be ideal if you forget to charge them overnight. They also do not have any power-saving features like a customizable auto-off timer. They will stay connected to your Bluetooth source until you physically turn them off or you disconnect them, which will drain the battery more quickly than other comparable models like the Bose SoundLink Around Ear 2. Unfortunately, the Cowin brand does not yet have a dedicated app for its headphones, so both models will not be as customizable as some of the other wireless over-ear designs that we've tested, which is a little disappointing. Lastly, for their connection options, they are both Bluetooth 4.0 headphones, but the E8 does not support NFC pairing like the E7 Pro or the original E7. They also come with a standard 1.8 TRS audio cable with no inline remote or microphone, so they will only provide audio when used wired. Oh, also the connector for the E8 ends in a 116 TRS, so you won't be able to use a regular aux cable like you can with the E7 Pro. So in the end, which one will be best for you? Well, if you have the budget, then definitely go for the Cowin E8. They have the much better build quality, they're more comfortable, and they have the stronger noise cancellation, so you can use them in loud, noisy conditions and while commuting. However, since they're a little bulky, a bit tight on the head, and not the most breathable, the design won't be for everyone. They also have a slightly muddy sound, which won't be ideal for more critical listeners. In this case, the E7 Pro sound a bit more detailed with instruments and vocals, and the lighter, more casual design might look better for some. Unfortunately, they also sound quite sharp on already bright tracks, and they do not have the deep thumping bass of the original E7. They're also a bit cheaply built, and the noise cancellation feature is not as strong as the E8s. It cuts out whenever the seal that the ear cups create around your ears is broken, which happens more often than you would like, and may be a deal breaker for some. And that's pretty much it. You can check out all our measurements on our website. If you like this video, then subscribe to our channel or become a contributor. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.